This is Michelle Love, and I'm hosting this show of mine called Dynamic Change, and you are listening to KPCALP in Petaluma. I hope you've had a wonderful first day of the year, and today I will be discussing the experience of being an empath and how anxiety patterns in life are experienced by someone that's very empathic. Okay, so the name of the show is Dynamic Change, and the focus of it is to develop more ways to have wellness in your life. So I provide techniques that show you how you can do that, and also to give understanding to psychological patterns and how they manifest in our lives, how they play out in our behavior in reference to what we grew up with, what was challenging. And my background is I'm a certified wellness coach, fitness trainer, self-defense instructor, and I have a degree in psychology. So I want to relay this information of how we can understand our patterns and how we can work to shape the behavior in our lives and work towards healing traumatic patterns and experiences and develop new patterns that are going to be empowered and help you move forward in your life in a way that is very beneficial and is more fulfilling. If you need more information on me, you can go to my website, which is dynamicchangewellness.com. So, what I would like to start out with is I have always been a very sensitive empath my whole life, and I would like to speak to this topic because there are a lot of people that are very strong empaths, and it's a little confusing when you're growing up because you feel very stimulated by feeling other people's emotional build-up, and I want to explain how an empath can work with that to adjust their sensitivity to regulate themselves so they feel not so overwhelmed by other people's emotions, and also to give some clarification to this can be helpful for parents, this can be helpful for people that don't realize how empathic they really are, and kind of define the experience. So basically, when someone's really an empath and a very sensitive person, often they can kind of read the room in a way that is a much deeper internal experience than someone that's not quite so sensitive. So, for example, if they grew up with a situation, I'm going to show how this can play out as in your childhood. So if they grew up in a situation that had a lot of intense emotional discharge from the family, okay? So if they had a family member that was processing a lot of anger or didn't know how to channel it in a way that was less stimulating, what a child could feel is this intense amount of emotional buildup within them. Like they will actually feel it in their body, almost like their own emotional experience. And it can be really hard for them to separate it out. You know, what am I feeling and what am I just picking up from this other person that maybe they love very much, right? So there's already this deep bond, right? And then they're processing this intensity. So it can be very confusing. It can make the kid look very, very emotional. They may have more meltdowns. They may seem dysregulated, seem more upset, seem fussier. So sometimes this can be a real quandary for parents and then the person experiencing it. So when they feel it in their own body, it is really difficult to establish, are they just reacting? Are they just feeling irritable? Are they just feeling drained? Are they just feeling anxious because they're feeling so much emotions? They're processing so much. And I think it's really important to look at this particular topic. So as a kid, it's really important for parents. So if you have a kid that you know is really sensitive and you see that the kid is struggling often, it's hard for them to be around a lot of people, it's when anyone's having a conflict within the family, they notice the kid really reflects it, really is impacted by it in a way that doesn't look positive. It's really good to give the kids some tools. So to give the kids some tools, talking to them about, if you are feeling upset, maybe the parents are having a disagreement, right? We're working something out, and we will work it out, but we're a little stressed or frustrated, or maybe you're feeling some that we're a little angry with each other, and this makes you feel really uncomfortable inside your body. There's a couple things you can do. You can let us know, which is very helpful, because often the kid knows that they are feeling too much, but they don't know what to do with that. But they do know they don't feel good. So empowering that kid to tell them that you can let us know, I'm feeling too much right now because you're arguing, and give them some tools. Tell them they can leave the room and they can go color for a while. They can ask you to take it outside or go for a drive. How empowering is that, to tell our kid that you can tell me you need space? And it also gives them tools on how to manage the situation in life. Like, what are they going to do when they're around people that maybe they need to take space from? They're going to need as many ideas as possible of how to take care of themselves. And so they can leave the room, they can go listen to music, they can go put some headphones on, they can go sit outside in the garden and take some deep breaths, they can go pet the cat. If they're old enough, they can go for a walk. But empowering them to also reflect to people how they can contain their emotional output is really, really powerful, because it's not just about them. It's not like the kid's problem per se. They just have a different level of sensitivity. And a lot of the kids these days, in my opinion, are much more sensitive than maybe 3 generations ago. So they're more on the spectrum as well, which means there are going to be very, very sensitive, very emotionally present people. And to honor that, I want to offer this experience for the kid, and also for adults that are very empathic. And in my shows, I will actually be discussing a lot of parenting tips, and I will dedicate shows that are just for that. But I want to include the child experience and the parenting response to this. So basically, empowering that kid to have ways to modify the situation for themselves, things that they can do that are going to make them feel better, which is, being in nature, being around animals is really regulating, deep breathing, and there is also some very mindful meditation techniques which I will be going over. So to relay the experience of someone that's very empathic is that because they feel someone's emotions so strongly. They can just be present with them. It's just an automatic thing. They can't really just turn it off. They can do some techniques which I will go over to help insulate them so it's not so overstimulating, but it's just a natural response. It's like, for them, it's just like hearing or seeing. It's just one of the senses is more developed on that level. So, and the thing you need to understand as well is the kids, especially kids, they may look a little chaotic on the emotional level not because they're actually chaotic, it's because they are reflecting that these people are not knowing how to work with their emotions in a way that's not spilling out too much, right? And the kids actually processing that dynamic. And it could look like the kids always expressing this high level of emotions, and it's really kind of a bummer when you're an empath, because it can be looked at in a negative way. And often, it's such a gift to have that ability, because you can really be so present with people and really be so compassionate and there for them. But until you learn how to regulate yourself with this dynamic, it can easily play out where it looks like you're just a little emotionally on a roller coaster, or expressing too much or too sensitive. And that's really not, in my opinion, a real positive way to really look at someone that can be so emotionally present. So sometimes within the family dynamic, there's someone that is able to access the underlying elephant in the room, what everyone is not talking about and is stuffing and is holding back. And this person articulates it. This person emotionally feels it, and they cannot hold it in, because it's like a whole nother layer of emotional experience. And also knowing the truth is a whole nother pressure too. So if they're able to really see what people are feeling, because they're processing it at the same time, and maybe they get it, but the other people are not able to really articulate it at the time. Maybe there's some traumatic patterns, the parents have from their childhood, and the kids feeling all this, and they understand, they're emotionally intelligent enough to understand that it doesn't feel good, that it's not a positive dynamic, and maybe they can't really label it or fully understand it, but it's like they act it out. And this is and then the parents see this wonderful child struggling, and they just think the kid just always struggles, and I don't understand why. And so it's a really powerful thing to recognize when someone's very, very feels very deeply, and to honor that, because someone that's very empathic can be so helpful in society, in my opinion, because they are able to understand people often on a very deep level. So if we have people that are not able to meet up with their ideas and with their emotions, and have very different viewpoints, an empath, they're like natural mediators to an extent. If they really work on being grounded within themselves and work on their own issues, so they're very clear, when they are in the situation of people needing to bridge that gap, it's a very powerful tool in so many ways, because I think a lot of our issues in society come from this disconnect, where we're not able to communicate and emotionally be present with each other, because the viewpoints are so different, and we have very strong feelings about that, and nothing is wrong with that. But how do we heal it, right? So we want to find ways to communicate, ways to understand each other, and even if we don't agree, to start closing that gap and becoming closer and closer to having some peace within our interactions with others. So these gifted people are really, I think, a valuable resource that could be incorporated more and more within our society if we understand this very intricate emotional experience. So if you're noticing that your kid looks upset, and kids in general are really sensitive beings in general, and they get overstimulated very easily. So for every kid, it's going to be applicable. But I am specifically speaking to the ones that you can tell emotionally are really extra sensitive. So giving them permission to set boundaries for themselves is very, very, very powerful. Giving them permission to let you know when maybe you're very stressed out. You know, it's hard being an adult, right? So we're trying to pay the bills, we're trying to work, we're trying to make sure we have food for the kids, and hopefully the laundry's done. I mean, there's so much going on all the time, and it can be a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, and sometimes it's really hard to make sure we're not stressed out or angry or frustrated. And so if we can make an agreement within ourselves that if my kid reflects this information, if I give them this permission, then I have to work at taking a moment for myself at that point. And maybe you need to go outside and go for a walk or go work out. Say, okay, well, I'm going to go in the other room and I'm going to turn on an exercise video and on the YouTube or whatever, and I'm going to work. I'm going to exercise that stress out. Or I'm going to put on my favorite song and I'm going to dance for a few minutes. You know, or I'm going to call my friend and just kind of vent because I'm realizing I need to release some pressure. So giving the kids permission to say what they need to say in order to take care of themselves and ask other people to change their behavior is going to empower them when they're older. So when they're older, they're going to deal with peer pressure. Excuse me. They're going to deal with, you know, drug situations, intimacy situations, and we want them to be able to tune into themselves and realize when they feel, when they are feeling stressed by the environment, when they are feeling like it doesn't feel right for them, we want them to be able to go inward for that. And when they do that, they are able to make good choices for themselves, to turn down situations that don't feel good, to not be bullied, to not just go along with the situation that is not okay. Maybe it's unhealthy, maybe it could be potentially dangerous. And so these have ramifications, positive ramifications. When we empower our kids from a young age to be able to relate to us at times in a way where they can say what their boundaries are and you agree with it. So it's not like permissive parenting, it's more like empowering the kid to start working on understanding what they need for their own self-regulation. And this will, and also having agreement. So the parents are making the decisions. So the parents are in charge of this whole situation, but they come up with a plan for the kid. So, and this is really, when you do this, when they get older, they are going to be emotionally so much more healthy. And so you're not giving the power over to the kids. The parents are retaining the parental power, but they are communicating in a way that is emotionally educating the child to be able to tune into themselves. And sometimes you can't figure out your kid. That's the other thing too. Every person's different. And so we can't always understand every little thing about our kids. It would be, I think we would like to think we can, but I don't think it's obtainable. I think there are moments where we are not going to get it. We're not. And our heart will be there and we will be putting in 150%, but there will be moments where we're not going to understand. And if we raise our kids in a way where we're encouraging them to go inward within themselves and figure out what will help them, that is so empowering. These emotional tools are just really going to pay off. And they're going to help you so you don't feel like you have to be able to problem solve every moment. Because there will be times when it may be super stressful, super chaotic, and you're like, I can't think of a good solution in this moment. And what if your kid said, you know what, I really need this? And you're like, wow, I didn't realize that, and that's so helpful. And as the parent, I'm okay with that in this moment. You can do that. How powerful is that, to have your kid have that voice and for you to have that feedback of when you can't figure out a moment to actually develop a flow for you, and also to have that relief of not having to figure everything out in every single moment as a parent. And I did these types of tactics in my own parenting with my kid, and I will say they really paid off. I'm extremely proud of my kid because they were able to really have a voice, to really set boundaries, to not be scared to set boundaries, and to be emotionally intelligent in a way that was very empowered. And even though it took time for that to develop, it's not like it was just easy every moment for them. I will say that my kid is 18 years old, and today is their birthday. I'm so excited for them. And so now they're 19 actually. They are extremely empowered with their voice and really strong within themselves. And I think that is a huge accomplishment, and I'm not patting myself on the back for that. I really think that it's really was all my kids' inner strength development, and really they were able to do this. But I do feel I was able to help facilitate this by looking at it this way as they were growing up. And it really was helpful, because when you have a kid, especially when they're really intelligent and they're really creative and bright, you want as many ideas of what helps them. And I always made my kid brainstorm for that, and I think it really, really paid off. So again, my name is Michelle Love. The name of this show is Dynamic Change, and the focus of this show is to talk about techniques for developing more wellness in your life, for also understanding psychological processes within ourselves. And so when I am giving this information, I'm trying to really break it down so we can understand this particular topic. And today I am talking about the empath's emotional experience of like anxiety patterns, how they express sometimes other people's anxiety, other people's feelings. And so today I would like to talk about the level of stress in the world. So in the world today, we have a high amount of stress and upsetment. I think it's kind of just this, not even a low grade, maybe a high grade, I don't know, but it's kind of free floating, right? Like people just are have a little too much going on that they're thinking about. And so people that are empathic, I think, are extra impacted by this, where they are experiencing people struggling. And not everyone's struggling, and that's fantastic. But I will say, I do think it's just gotten to be a little more loaded than it has been in other years. And so realizing, so if you notice that you feel drained, irritable, overstimulated, anxious, being out in the world, and maybe that you're even, so an empath, it's really intense. So basically, I think all of us can feel and be aware, right, and relate and be affected. But with the empath, it's almost like an internal pressure that you feel. And so it's like all of a sudden you feel drained, all of a sudden you feel irritable, and you're not sure why. And you're like, I was in a really good space, and then I went to the store, and like all of a sudden I'm just not feeling okay. Like I feel really stressed out now. So starting to notice how you feel when you interact with people in general, and people you're really close to, how affected you are internally, your internal system, how are you feeling? And you can journal about this and just start paying attention. So when you feel overstimulated, no matter how sensitive a person you are, but particularly for empaths, some tools to regulate are really powerful. So some of those tools are taking space for yourself. So again, all this applies to a kid. So going in nature will always help you. Being around animals is very regulating, and realizing your limits, so you can create some healthy boundaries for yourself. So the limits are when you start to feel tired, stressed, or drained, when you start feeling not good. It's an indication that you need to step back, that you need to take some space, that you need to change something. And that's totally okay. So if you can make that okay with yourself and find some way, sometimes I'll just step back and I'll think about my schedule for that day, and I'll be like, what can I cut out for this day? Because I'm feeling maxed, I'm feeling a little stressed out, a little overtired, and I'll decide, okay, I'm going to do this last thing, and then maybe I'm going to go home and I'm going to snuggle up and watch some television and allow myself to just really decompress. Or I'm going to do some stretching and some breathing. So really noticing how you feel and developing those boundaries for yourself. So again, my name's Michelle Love. The name of this show is Dynamic Change, and I am talking today about the empath's experience of anxiety from other people, and relating to other people, how sometimes they can be reflecting and processing other people's emotions. And you are listening to KPCA LP in Petaluma. So now I want to talk about how meditation is extremely helpful, not only to calm your mind, but to work with your emotions and to regulate the physical sensations within our bodies. So a way that you can work with your energy in a mindful way is you imagine your energy in your body, and imagine it giving you a bubble. Like, give yourself a bubble. Pick a color that feels really positive to you, and just imagine, because we have energy in our bodies. No one can deny that at this point. So if you have that energy and you give it a color and you make it like a big bubble, just imagine it's a bubble all around you, and it encapsulates you. It seals you up in every direction, under your feet, behind your back, and just fill it up. And like, I love to envision fire, so like a purple fire, because for me, I feel like that can burn up any stress, right? Any negative thoughts or just stress I'm holding on to. It's like purifying. That's kind of how I like to look at it. So you can make it symbolic like that if you like. Some people really like water, so sometimes they can imagine, just a colorful water, beautiful water to soothe them. But it gives you this insulation from being engaged with everything all the time. So let's go ahead and do that together now. We're going to take some deep breaths. So hopefully you're comfortable. You can lay down if you like. You can close your eyes if you like. But we're going to take some deep breaths. And I want you to choose a color. And I want you to just imagine, and what you believe, what your mind believes, really does affect your energy. It's kind of like if you thought really negative thoughts all the time, you're not going to feel as happy, right? If you force yourself to think those happier thoughts or positive thoughts, it really does work. It really does feel better. So what you believe is very powerful for regulating and working with all the different aspects of ourselves. So whatever your mind believes is going to affect your energy. Okay. And if you feel your energy, sometimes people can even feel it, and it will feel like warmth or tingling. So just trust that, whether you feel it or you don't, just trust that if your mind can imagine this, that it's going to have a positive effect. Okay, this is part of mindfulness, this is part of meditation, and it can be really healing and help you within your life, a very helpful tool. So we're going to take a deep breath. So we're going to inhale. When you exhale, I want you to imagine this color and see it filling up just the immediate space right outside your body, all around your body, encapsulating everything, and give it this beautiful color. And the intention, you want to give it intention. You want to make it meaningful to you. So what's meaningful about this is you want it to, this is going to give you barrier and kind of solace from the stress of the world, or solace. Sometimes we love someone so much and we can't help them. Oh, that's hard, right? So sometimes we just need to be able to take some space from something that is overwhelming, something that is overstimulating, something that there is no control over, and we just need to put a salve, right? This is like a salve onto yourself so you can take a break and recuperate, right? So when we do these kinds of things, you're taking care of yourself so you can recuperate and be 100%. So then at that point, you can be 100% in your life for yourself and for others. But we have to find ways to kind of mend the self, right? Okay, so we've done this bubble around ourselves with this energy. You've picked a beautiful color. And then also another thing is to feel grounded within ourselves. So when we feel really overstimulated, when we feel upset, really stressed out, really angry, you don't feel quite as solid within yourself. There can be this feeling of feeling dispersed, kind of, you can't be as focused, your mind's not able to be as calm, so you're not feeling as grounded within yourself, right? Not that grounded, peaceful quiet that we want to have, that will help us be focused and present in our life. So to develop that, another meditation and mindful technique is to really ground your energy through your body, and imagine just grounding into the earth, because nature is always going to help you feel better. It's really regulating, it's really clears the energy, it helps your mind clear. So anytime we can do that, it's going to be very helpful. So now I want you to take some deep breaths, and what we're going to do is imagine taking that beautiful color that you developed from inside your body. And so let's do some breaths where you fill up your body with that color. Okay, so just imagine as you breathe in, that beautiful color comes into your body, and then it's just filling up the inside of your body. So we're going to take a couple deep breaths, 3 deep breaths. Here we go. Deep breath, hold it a moment, and release. You can also exhale out stress, which is great. Sometimes I get that, like the yucky color. Just make it like black and sludgy color, right? So inhale this beautiful color. Hold the breath, and then exhale, releasing tension. Another deep breath. Hold the breath. Exhale, releasing tension. So now I'm going to show you how to ground that energy. So with your mind, I want you to now, when we breathe, when you exhale, you're going to release that color. Like you'll see just this color come out of your feet in your mind, out of your feet, and go down into the earth. And you can even grow roots if you want, but you connect with that earth. So if you're in a room, like below the building, down into the dirt. Sometimes you can actually be outside, which is fantastic. And that's easier to imagine that. But just imagine you go down through the floor and down into the earth. So here we go. Take a deep breath. Do this with me. Bringing that color in, hold and release, and let that, imagine it just falling out of your feet. As you exhale, you push it out of your feet, and it goes down into the earth and connects, and you can grow roots if you want. Another deep breath. Hold that breath a second, and then release that color from your body. Going down into the earth and connecting. Last deep breath. Hold that breath, and then allow that color to release and go down into the earth, and feel that deep connection, that deep calm, and that solidness that you're going to feel, allowing yourself to feel that connection with nature, with the earth. And then we're going to do it again. This time, drop that color, same thing, but out your tailbone, okay? So just imagine it comes out your tailbone, and it's just like this beam that comes down into the earth, okay? So taking a deep breath in, hold that breath, and then let it go and release. Out the tailbone, into the earth, really connecting. Again, inhale. Holding that breath, holding that color, and then exhale. Last time. And we're releasing this color out the tailbone and into the earth. Last time. Now hold that breath a moment, and then release that color. Now, when you're able to feel the energy, you'll actually feel slightly heavier. Like you'll feel this like drop, where all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, I really feel deep in my body. I feel very grounded. I feel connected. And so this is a really powerful tool you can teach a kid. So if you have a kid that gets dysregulated, you feel like that they're really empathic, they're really feeling a lot, they're overstimulated. So as they're very young, you can do this kind of things with them before they get to that age where it's not cool. I recommend doing it when they're really young. And it's good to do with them because it will help you feel better, help them feel better, and it will get them used to exploring that tool, and it also may help them feel more open to, maybe doing yoga, which will be helpful for them, or some sort of, mindfulness technique, meditation, whatever it is, deep breathing, whatever is helpful. You want them to have as many tools as possible, and when you have tools for yourself, and then you are modeling it for them, that is so powerful, because then they will practice that on their own, and you can raise a kid that is open to those ideas, open to that way of thinking. What can I do to regulate myself and feel better? And then they can come up with their own ideas, and this will take a lot of stress off of your plate. So I really think it's a valuable concept to consider, and this is what I did, and it really helped me. And even though parenting, there's just no getting it all right ever, so let yourself off the hook, but having as many ideas and tools that are creative as possible, I think is just a lifesaver. And it really helped me, having a very spirited, very intelligent, intricate child. And so I think this can really be helpful. So there are some ways to regulate, and then also you want to develop some emotional boundaries. So as an empath, this is things you can relate to the kid and also to yourself, but start thinking about when you notice that you're feeling stressed. So you can tell your kid, when you feel stressed, this is what it looks like. When you feel like you're upset for mommy, you might want to say stuff like that. This is really powerful if you are feeling that, because you'll be shocked how much kids are brilliant. And sometimes they just don't know how to say it. They're like, yeah, I can tell you're really upset, and I'm really feeling that. And I want to help you. And sometimes they deliberately take on the emotions. An empath can deliberately even feel like, well, if I process this for them, maybe it will help them, because I can see they're struggling and they don't know what to do with this. That's another thing you really want to be aware of. We don't want our kids doing that. So giving them a way to define what could be going on. It doesn't mean it has to be what's going on, but I think kids really do process a lot of other people's feelings, and if they're empathic, it's going to be a really powerful experience for them, and we want to give them some ways to moderate and handle that. So we can let them know, if you feel really tired, sometimes when you're around people like in a way that doesn't make sense, and if you feel kind of drained, or if you feel really irritable, or something doesn't feel quite right, or really sad, or you can feel that anger in your body, you can always tell people, I'm feeling your emotions, and I'm going to go take care of myself, and this helps me, so I'm going to go do this. And for them to be able to realize that they are experiencing the emotional pressure in the environment is so powerful, because the most confusing thing, I will say, for a really sensitive empath is knowing where your emotional experience begins and where the other person's experience begins. And they can grow up thinking all of that experience is actually theirs. And that's kind of a bummer, because they're just processing so much, and it can be really emotionally exhausting and upsetting, because they really believe it's all them. They just have no idea that maybe this isn't all of their sensations that they're feeling at all times. So it's a really powerful thing to consider. And if you are an empath and you just didn't realize, to take some note and start taking space when you're feeling dysregulated, you're not feeling right all of a sudden, to try to articulate, okay, well, what happened there? Where was I? Who was I around? And maybe noticing, and especially when you're really close to someone, so when you're really emotionally close to someone, it's even more intense. So being able to develop some boundaries for yourself is so powerful. So giving ourselves some things we can say to people of, so as an adult, right? I really love you, but I feel like you are upset right now and you need to take care of yourself because I can't do that for you, and I can't solve your emotional burden in this moment, and I would like to, but I can't. So I think it'd be really good for you to find some ways, and I always give people examples of how they can take care of themselves. I tell them, maybe you need to start some therapy, maybe you need to join a support group, maybe you need to get in nature more. Sometimes people need a pet, but that's a big commitment, so you got to make sure you can keep that pet forever, right? But think, well, maybe or maybe they just need to go and be with someone else's pet. That's another option too. Sometimes we just need to have that connection, right? That comfort. So you could even go to the Humane Society and volunteer and pet the animals and just find ways to be around things that you find soothing. Go to the beach more, take a day off, but really paying attention to how you're feeling and set emotional boundaries for yourself. Deciding when I start to feel drained, I will do something new to change that situation, that dynamic for myself. I will end my day shortly thereafter as far as the required list of things to do, right? Or I'm going to need some downtime. I really need a nap. I'm going to work on some deep breathing. I'm going to work on some visualization with my energy, some mindful techniques. I could do that. I really need to have a cup of tea. So whatever it is, developing some behaviors and some boundaries. And so I think it's really important to tell people when they need to process find ways to have support or to release their emotional buildup when it's too much for us. And I think it's really powerful to tell people, look, I can tell you're really stressed out. I love you so much, but you're really stressed out, and I want to see you get some relief. So maybe you need to go do some art, go journal, go dance, and go scream in the pillow. Whatever it needs to be, work out more, but put it back on them and just say, find a way to help yourself, because it is painful for me to see you going through that, because an empath, they feel things really strongly. So it can be really upsetting for them to see people in pain that they care about. Like they are feeling it on such a deep level that it can be really disturbing and really distraught. They can feel very distraught. And so empowering those people that they are having in their lives, that they care about, and telling them, I am really feeling that this is too stressful for you. What you're, giving them a mirror, giving them this reflection of, this is what I'm feeling, and I'm going to go take some time to take care of myself. I'm feeling a little stressed or overstimulated. And it's not that we blame it on them, but let them know, we model for them, I'm feeling like I need to go take some time and just rest. I've had a long day, but I can tell you're really struggling, and I encourage you to find a release for that. And so really having that emotional boundary for yourself where you put it back on them, you give them the support of I love you, and the support that an empath can give is very powerful to articulate for people, because sometimes they don't know, right? sometimes they've really stressed out. They're really going through a lot, and it takes the understanding, the sensitivity, the compassion of someone that can really see it to say, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I hope you can find to help relieve that. Here's some ideas, and we can talk tomorrow. So creating boundaries is very, very, very powerful. So again, my name is Michelle Love. The name of the show is Dynamic Change. You're listening to KPCA-LP in Petaluma, and the focus of this show is I'm a certified wellness coach, fitness trainer, self-defense instructor, and I have a degree in psychology. And my goal is to share wellness techniques, ways you can really look at psychological patterns and heal them and develop new patterns to have more wellness in your life and more fulfilling connections with others. And I'm going to take a quick break here to read an announcement for you for the station. And this one is Live Crashing Headfolds. This show is on Wednesdays. Again, the name of the show, Live Crashing Headfolds. Wednesdays, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m., hosted by Mona. And Live Crashing Headfolds is a weekly radio program playing all forms of experimental music from academic and fine art down to home-taped noises and industrial crud. 2 hours of music and its opposites. Bring your own questions and leave with new ones. That sounds really interesting. I like that a lot. So, if you're interesting, if you find you need something interesting, this show sounds highly entertaining. Live Crashing Headfolds, hosted by Mona. Okay, so if you have questions for me, I recommend going to my website, which is dynamicchangewellness.com, and you can email me. You'll find the email there, but the email is dcwellness88@gmail.com. Again, dcwellness88@gmail.com. And you can send me questions about the things I've talked about, anything you would like problem solved, anything you would like discussed in the future. And so next week, my plan for what to talk about, and it's for every Wednesday. The show is on Wednesdays at 11 o'clock. You can listen to it live on the radio station or the TV station for KPCA LP, or you can go to my YouTube channel. So I have a YouTube channel, and it is Michelle Love with Dynamic Change and Wellness, and that's where I upload all the shows, and so you can listen to them later on. So next week I will be discussing how to feel safe when you feel vulnerable and you're speaking your truth. So a lot of times we really need to stay in our truth, and I want to talk about being able to express something in a vulnerable, open way, which I think is really a powerful way to feel heard by somebody, but to also feel safe. So even if you're dealing with someone really difficult, or maybe they're just really not nice, right? And they more kind of an aggressive, attacking kind of personality, and how are you going to feel safe and still feel like you don't have to be, on guard and defensive and have all this agitation between you. So I really want to talk about vulnerability. I think vulnerability is very powerful. Rather than feeling like I'm not safe because I feel vulnerable, I actually think it is a very powerful experience and emotion, and it can empower you, and it can heal things, being able to communicate really deep feelings and truths for yourself that do make you feel vulnerable. So I will be discussing that next week, and I look forward to sharing that with you. So today we discussed being an empath and their experience of feeling anxiety or feeling emotional overstimulation, because they are such sensitive people, and how they can give themselves boundary and for themselves when they interact with people, and paying attention to how they feel and noticing when they are processing other people's feelings and not just their own, and how to disengage from that dynamic in a healthy way, how to give it over to other people and empower them to process it, and how the empath can use those gifts of seeing and feeling so much in a way that supports communication, supports people being tuned into themselves emotionally, and the empath is just really a gift with being present. They're really powerful people, and I want to support you. And I also want to let you off the hook if you have ever been blamed for the person that seemed to be emotionally acting out all the time, and realize that when you're empathic, sometimes you're the only one expressing those emotions that are in the room, or the family's emotions, and it's a real bummer to be carrying that label or that banner of the person that's emotionally chaotic. And it could be actually that you're just expressing what everyone is not able to let go, like it's too scary for them, or it's something they've held in forever, or that they didn't even realize they have, and you're able to see it and feel it, but to understand what to do with that and how to separate it out from yourself, I want to give that gift to all the empaths. And you're not the emotionally chaotic person. You are a very gifted person that is able to feel very deeply and be very present with people. And that is very powerful. And it is a very positive thing, but it takes practice. So these mindful techniques and these behavioral techniques and paying attention can really help you have some separation, so you're not at the whim of it, and you can understand that gift more, so you can do what you want with it to help yourself in your life and the people you care about, and just interacting with society. So I think it's very powerful, and my heart goes out to those parents of empaths as well. It gives you some ideas that might be helpful. So enjoy your week. I am so grateful for speaking with you today. Happy New Year. Happy birthday to my kid. And I hope everyone is having a really wonderful day. And this is going to be a fantastic year. Take good care of yourself. Thank you so much.